fans, Gooners, welcome to another edition of the Uncensored Arsenal, the positively uncensored Arsenal match review. I've been away so long, I've missed my lines, people. Personal reasons got in the way. We apologize and probably going to miss another game going forward because I have to travel again. But George, it's good to be together again. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you. It's another Happy Christmas podcast. We were top of the league last year when we did the Christmas podcast. It's becoming a habit. I like it.
Yes, I noticed that. But last year you and I were not convinced. Are we convinced this year, George? Are we convinced after such an honorable, I call it historic, but let's call it an honorable fighting draw at Liverpool yesterday?
Well, I'm more convinced that we won't collapse come the end of the season. I'm not as convinced we'll get enough points because I still keep thinking that Manchester City won't be carrying on dropping points like they have been. They'll go on a run and the pressure will come on then.
They're notorious. They're famous for that.
We have a difficult run in. Mm-hmm. Again, it could all come down to the game at Manchester City. And that didn't go too well for us last year. Mm-hmm. Or any year, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's the team's playing differently. I think we're less liable to collapse, but we're also less liable to go on a run where we blitz people. I'm hopeful, but I'm more hoping that Manchester City don't come to form than we lose it. I think we'll be fairly consistent, and it'll come down to how good Manchester City are in the second half of the season.
You and I have spoken about it. You didn't think that we were a better team. Have you changed your over last year? That
no.
We've got more players. Have you changed your mind? What is your opinion?
It's the same. For me, the starting 11 isn't as good as it was last year, simply because Xhaka's not here. I think he made a big difference, and you can see, is it 5 points less this year than last year? So, but I'm tempered a bit because Declan Rice has turned out to be a much bigger upgrade on Thomas Partey than I thought he was. So he's sort of made up some of that ground. I thought it would be considerably worse because of the loss of Xhaka, but Declan Rice has been so magnificent, and he has been magnificent, that it's compensating in a lot of ways for the loss of Xhaka. And Kai Havertz is now coming to a bit. And personally, I thought he played well yesterday. I mean, I was still seeing on Twitter criticism of him, but I thought he played well. And he's been much better of late. So,
he was a continuity player, wasn't he? Like that, George. He was, battling, taking players, getting the ball moving.
Yes, and sometimes he plays it a bit simple for my liking when he's in the position he's in, which is supposed to be replacing Xhaka. Mm-hmm. Xhaka was more penetrative.
Yes.
No, penetrative in the final third, I think. But despite the fact he occasionally loses the ball, annoyingly so, I think he's contributing quite a bit now, and he's certainly not the liability that we saw at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, the team's stronger than I thought it would be, let's say 3 months ago.
Yes, I think we have to. At least certainly me have to eat some humble pie. I thought we were. You remember one of those? Not it wasn't Burnley. Probably was a game before. I said, we were playing like a team with a Stoke, But I have to eat humble pie. I think I'm not convinced our attacking is as fluid as it should be. Football fans, Gooners, welcome to another edition of the Uncensored Arsenal, the positively uncensored Arsenal match review. I've been away so long, I've missed my lines, people. Personal reasons got in the way. We apologize and probably going to miss another game going forward because I have to travel again. But George, it's good to be together again. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you. It's another Happy Christmas podcast. We were top of the league last year when we did the Christmas podcast. It's becoming a habit. I like it.
Yes, I noticed that. But last year you and I were not convinced. Are we convinced this year, George? Are we convinced after such an honorable, I call it historic, but let's call it an honorable fighting draw at Liverpool yesterday?
Well, I'm more convinced that we won't collapse come the end of the season. I'm not as convinced we'll get enough points because I still keep thinking that Manchester City won't be carrying on dropping points like they have been. They'll go on a run and the pressure will come on then.
They're notorious. They're famous for that.
We have a difficult run in. Mm-hmm. Again, it could all come down to the game at Manchester City. And that didn't go too well for us last year. Mm-hmm. Or any year, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's the team's playing differently. I think we're less liable to collapse, but we're also less liable to go on a run where we blitz people. I'm hopeful, but I'm more hoping that Manchester City don't come to form than we lose it. I think we'll be fairly consistent, and it'll come down to how good Manchester City are in the second half of the season.
You and I have spoken about it. You didn't think that we were a better team. Have you changed your over last year? That
no.
We've gotten more players. Have you changed your mind? What is your opinion?
It's the same. For me, the starting 11 isn't as good as it was last year, simply because Xhaka's not here. I think he made a big difference, and you can see, is it 5 points less this year than last year? But I'm tempered a bit because Declan Rice has turned out to be a much bigger upgrade on Thomas Partey than I thought he was. So he's sort of made up some of that ground. I thought it would be considerably worse because of the loss of Xhaka, but Declan Rice has been so magnificent, and he has been magnificent, that it's compensating in a lot of ways for the loss of Xhaka. And Kai Havertz is now coming to a bit. And personally, I thought he played well yesterday. I mean, I was still seeing on Twitter criticism of him, but I thought he played well. And he's been much better of late. So,
he was a continuity player, wasn't he? Like that, George. He was, battling, taking players, getting the ball moving.
Yes, And sometimes he plays it a bit simple for my liking when he's in the position he's in, which is supposed to be replacing Xhaka. Xhaka was more penetrative.
Yes.
No,
I'll help you there.
penetrative in the final third, I think. But despite the fact he occasionally loses the ball, annoyingly so, I think he's contributing quite a bit now, and he's certainly not the liability that we saw at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, the team's stronger than I thought it would be, let's say 3 months ago.
Yes, I think we have to, at least certainly me, have to eat some humble pie. I thought we were, you remember one of those, it wasn't Burnley, probably was a game before. I said, we were playing like a team with, a Stoke, but I have to eat humble pie. I think, I'm not convinced our attacking is as fluid as it should be. But with Kai Havertz playing a little bit better, we seem to have a little bit more variety. But I'm not satisfied that it is good enough. We're not a team that's gonna blow the doors off most teams in the league. You share that opinion or not?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I think that's fair enough. We're not going to blow the teams away because and I think it's a conscious decision to be more solid and less fluid. So I'm not going to criticize it. So yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, I'm just somebody's trying to get in the front door here.
Yes, I can see. Everybody can see.
I'm just texting them, telling them I'm busy.
Yes. And this won't be edited, George. I don't spend time taking this is uncensored Arsenal. So people have to live with that. In the meantime, though, George, speaking about, while you're at it, I'm going to bring up some stats. No, that's not it. Well, where is the stats Liverpool? Oh, here it is. You got your person?
I'm going to have to make a phone call here.
Okay, we're going to pause this and then join again. 1 second.
Arranging to come round and decides it's now.
Yes. Okay, George, no problem. These things happen. Yeah, George. I brought up match stats just for a quick look and see. At least this year, definitely. Well, I'm gonna say something here, George. I thought, especially in the first half, and I'm gonna share a graphic with you. We attacked Liverpool more than I had expected, and this is a sentiment shared by an analyst on the PremierLeague.com. And how surprised are you by the statistics here? 51% possession by Liverpool at home versus 49 for Arsenal. They only had 3 shots on target. And we had 13 shots each, and the touches and the passes are about the same. Are the statistics deceiving, or did we play them to a standstill?
I think we did, and I think it's what you have to factor in is that Liverpool aren't as possession based as we are.
Maybe even more.
No, they're not as possession based.
Oh, I got you.
I think that they're quite happy to play on the break, whereas we're not. Although sometimes I think we should, we don't. So I didn't expect them to dominate possession, but I still think to share possession at Anfield is very creditable. Really.
Yes.
And, we dominated for periods, not long periods, maybe 10 or 15 minutes in both halves. And they probably dominated for a little bit more than that, with 15 minutes at the end being equal. So they maybe had 45 minutes domination to our 30 minutes and 15 minutes even.
I'm going to
And
help you out there, George.
dominated, I don't mean totally dominated. I mean slightly had the better of the play. And I think that's that's creditable to go to Anfield and take the game to them. I tweeted before the game started a couple of days ago that our performance was going to be as important as the result, because we had to make a statement that we are as good as, if not better, than them anywhere. You know, we're not a team that can play at home and can't play away. We've got to be able to go toe to toe with them and show the rest of the league that. So when we go to like Tottenham now, or Chelsea, or wherever it is we go, they know that we're going to be playing our game. We're not going to adjust for them. We're playing our game. We went to Liverpool and played our game, so we're going to do that more or less anywhere. I hope we do it at City as well when that day comes. And I think that's a big step forward, that you don't adjust your game to suit the team you're playing. You might make slight alterations, obviously, of personnel or tactics. Basically, the game is the same. The game plan is the same, because that's what good teams do. They play their way. Liverpool go to Manchester City, they play like Liverpool. Manchester City go to Liverpool, City play like City. And Arsenal should play like Arsenal no matter where they go. And we've started to do that. I mean, we went to Aston Villa on a fabulous streak, hot run. We didn't cover that game because we've been away. But for me, they were very, very lucky to get a win. And they would have been lucky to get a draw. We were considerably better than them, and we imposed our game on them. Similarly, at Newcastle, we lost that game, but we outplayed Newcastle.
Yes, that much. Yeah.
So I don't think we've been outplayed in any game this season, and we've continued to play the way Mikel Arteta wants us to play. And that's a step forward. That is a step forward. That's saying to the world, we play our way and you're going to have the problems coping with us. That's how Arsene Wenger's Invincibles team, and all of his teams used to play. And sometimes they got criticised for it. But you knew on a good day they would win. And I think it's the same with us now. I don't care where it is we go. On a good day, playing our way, we can win. And that's a huge step forward from where we've been over the last few years.
What would you call our way, George?
Well, I think it's a very solid. We're solid defensively. We don't expose the centre-backs too much, but we managed to play through the midfield now, control the ball in midfield, and get the ball out to the wingers or the wider players who are supposed to create for us, rather than we're not expecting somebody like Odegaard to be Mesut Ozil, if you will.
Yes.
And create. So the team is very solid, but on the front foot. Not solid as in Chelsea 05.
Yes.
Hoping that their three front men do something special every week.
And they had three exceptional front men, by the way, George.
Yes, they did. Yeah. But that's how I see our way. And we are solid. The stats tell you. Are we solid because Saliba is just out of this world? Declan Rice, similar. They're the ones that shield the goalkeeper. Maybe, but you can't be criticising us for having good players. You know, they are good players, but the system suits them, and they're playing well. You know, we have weaknesses. Zinchenko is a weakness defensively, but he's a huge strength going forward. And
Right.
I've seen a lot of criticism of him, and sometimes his defending is hopeless.
Yes.
You know. But
I want us to come back to that, George. If you give me a second, you know I have some stats about it. But just talking about playing our game, though, this guy Alex Kebler, I think his name is, suggests in his analysis on the Premier League that in the second half we became more conservative. By the way, George, you just said, I said I was about to help you, that Arsenal was good in stretches and Liverpool was better in more stretches. This momentum graphic from SofaScore shows that exactly. But do you agree that we became a little bit more conservative in the second half? I see here, you know, the big striking bars was not as evident in this second half as it was in the first half. Look at the blue bars at the bottom. But you're right. Liverpool attacked us in periods, and we attacked in periods. Do you agree with Alex Kebble that we became a little bit more conservative in the second half? Please give a point of view here.
Well, you can't go hell for leather for 95, 97 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't do it. And I think the second halves are always liable to be quieter if you're not pushing for a win, or just I think the way the game goes, you can't play at 100% full throttle all the time. The worst spells where we started playing sideways and backwards, whereas at the beginning of the first half, everything was going forward. Every pass was forward.
Agree with you 100%. We put a lot of pressure on them in that first half.
Yeah, you cannot keep that up for 90 minutes. It's a fallacy. I keep saying this to people, that it's all right pressing hard, but once you get the ball, you have to keep it, and you have to have about 70% possession.
Yes.
To rest.
Yes.
So that next time you lose it, you can press again, like Manchester City do, like Barcelona used to do.
Yeah.
No team can press much more than that. So both Liverpool and us, as those stats probably showed, had do's and turns.
Yes.
at being on the front foot, because you can't be on the front foot for 90 minutes.
Yes.
It's not possible, in my opinion. It's not possible. Like I say, unless you're absolutely dominating possession, and then
we didn't, George. It was 49%.
And you're not going to playing away at Anfield.
No, because they counter press you, George. If they throw 2-3, they don't give you a minute on the ball. I thought that was, in fact, the second half kind of discombobulated us.
Talking about one of the original managers that brought pressing, hyper pressing, to the game.
Yes.
You know, and they're a good team.
Yes.
They're a really, really, really good team. And so are we. We matched them.
The problem, though, George, let's be controversial here. Our fans don't seem to give Liverpool any credit. They blame the water. Now I see it was overwatered, and what else they're saying? Liverpool cheated. Give me your take on that.
Klopp's frightened of Arteta, and
yes,
he needed to get the Anfield on his side because he's so frightened of Arteta. And yes, I read that. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. they overwatered the pitch to make it slippy so that the game couldn't be played in a certain way. Like it wouldn't work against them.
Exactly.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Some people, honestly, it beggars belief. And somebody will tweet some shite like that, and it'll get retweeted and liked.
yes.
And you think, who the fuck's reading this and thinking that's a good observation? But anyway, we've seen that.
I mean, George, we got to be very happy for the uneven bounce on that chance to Trent Alexander-Arnold, because that's the reason why it popped up on his anklish, and therefore he didn't get to steer it into the goal.
Well, it bobbled up a little bit, but it was bobbling along anyway.
Yes.
It didn't bobble up at the last minute. I think that was a terrible miss from him.
Well, I mean, I was fearing the worst myself, but
he looked at. I mean, what odds would you have had? What odds would you have given when you looked at them running forward, and he had 3 people to pass to, and he did pass to one of them, and he probably passed it to the most capable of the 3 to finish it, and he hit the bar.
No.
We were lucky there. That you're not going to get away with many of them. You're really not.
Yes.
And
George,
the Martin Odegaard save.
George, about I don't know, but I mean, nobody mentions that the refs are against us. That's the other conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
which, I mean, we have had some bad decisions, but every club has bad decisions. Liverpool has had some bad decisions against them.
Well, they got one yesterday.
Yes. That was a handball, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. I don't. He looked like. Who was that? Harlem Globetrotters player, Medlar, somebody or other. That used to dribble the ball all the time. He hit it twice.
Yes. And they VAR didn't get involved.
Well, they got involved and they cleared it because to be fair, it looked like he had lost his footing slightly. And it looked like he was going to fall over, and he put his hand down to break the fall, but in the end he didn't fall over. So I think it was actually. I mean, obviously he didn't intend to handball it,
right? But intent is not part of the law anymore, George. I'm sorry.
No. But if that had been against us, we'd have been going absolutely berserk.
Yeah, sure. I know.
There'd have been effigies of the referee, and Mikel Arteta would be going on a rampage on Sky Sports afterwards, saying it was the most ridiculous. It was treasonous.
You know who was lucky too, George? I mean, I think the referee had the right decision. Nobody seems. When Saka slipped and went in that 2-footed tackle on, who was it? I can't remember what he was.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was lucky there at all. He did just slip. You can't book him for that, even especially with him being already on a yellow. But we saw one yesterday in another game at Nottingham Forest where somebody got sent off for clearing the ball, getting the ball, winning the tackle, and then the opponent standing on him. And he got sent off. So
the reason why I bring this up, George, is that, we can't win the title with making these kinds of excuses. Stop it.
Well, we got lucky yesterday. That's twice.
Well, certainly on that.
But we earned it. I think we earned it as well. But that said, I think there was at least an equal magnitude penalty shout for us when Havertz got pushed over
in the box. Yes. Well, I mean, Trent. You mean when Trent? Well, he was going down anyway, in my opinion. I mean, Trent just leaned on him, and they were being physical at home anyway.
I think he did more than lean on him. I think he pushed him over. I think that was a penalty.
There you
go. I think the Odegaard one was a penalty. So I'm not sort of saying that we should have had one and they shouldn't. I think they were both penalties. So, yes, we were lucky with the Odegaard thing.
Yeah.
And you don't usually get them when you're playing away from home.
Right.
And but I also think we were unlucky not to have one awarded. And probably justice was done and seen to be done in the end.
Yes. Because I said, I just see, this demonizing and finding scapegoats. It's not very helpful. We have seen this all along the way. No, the man who's being scapegoated a lot, George, is Alexander Zinchenko. And I went to SofaScore. I don't know if people can see it, but the reason why he's being pilloried is because Mo Salah, who has scored the most goals against us by any Liverpool player, had him on his ass a couple of times and scored on him. When he disposed, well, he didn't dispose. He came cut across him and lashed it with his left foot. But there's a second.
Let's be fair though, it was shocking defending.
Yes. No, I'm not saying no, George, but we did buy Zinchenko because he's a defender. I mean, he was dispossessed. There's a second one here shows that he was dispossessed 13 times. I can't. Let me add it to the stage. Dispossessed. Is this correct?
Lost possession.
Yes. He lost possession. So, this was not his greatest day. But my point is to you, George, does he deserve to go down in infamy?
No, but that's the way of the world, isn't it? Let's face it. When he was at Manchester City, he was never regarded as a great defender, was he?
Exactly. That's why they got rid of him.
Nobody said, "Look at that." It's just like watching Stuart Pearce. No, It wasn't. He had his problems defending at Manchester City, and he'll have problems defending for us. He's hardly ever in that left back position anyway.
Yes.
Most of the time he's in the middle of the field. That's why we bought him. And he does sometimes. I mean, we got back into that game yesterday. I feared the worst after 15 minutes of the second half. I thought we were going to get 3 or 4 put past us. And he was as much responsible as anybody for dragging us screaming and kicking back into that game. By moving into the middle of the field and keeping possession and progressing the ball. So
yes, there's a stat here. He 75% pass completion. Where is it again? George, I have to bring guys. Give me a second because this thing was hard to combine in one graphic. Let me see if this one will tell us. Accurate passes, George. 51 out of 60. I remember this. 85%. You're right. He with Liverpool pressing, George. I mean, you gotta, he despite his weaknesses, he kept that possession, and that was important for us. I quite agree with you.
The reality is he's not the greatest defender, and we know that. That's not the position. That's not why we bought him. Mm-hmm. So I don't see what the crying is about. I said after about 20, 25 minutes that Zinchenko is going to cost us today. Yes. And that was exactly what happened. But he also benefited us as well. And But what can Mikel Arteta do? Justin Timber's injured. The Emperor's injured.
Yeah.
Who's he going to play there instead?
Right. I hear people saying Tierney, but Tierney is like a statue. I mean, listen, Tierney, I love you, but Mo Salah, with you're kind of leaden-footed. Mo Salah will eat you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, we're talking about him up against the best right winger in the league for the last 5 or 6 years, and comfortably the best as well. So he's always going to be in trouble. And when you get that, you have to do. You see other teams now double up on Saka and Martinelli all the time.
Yes.
Somebody did it. Was it Eddie Howe at Newcastle did it? And they were ineffective that day.
Yes.
And since then, everybody's done it. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it to Mo Salah?
Well, I thought what's his name? Gabriel. I want to call him Gilberto George. Gabriel was afraid to slide over.
Yeah, he was.
We were concerned about the middle. Pardon?
And he should have done. But what, are we going to start criticising him now? He's been fucking magnificent all season.
Yes.
You know, people make mistakes, and all of a sudden, they're the worst player in the world. They do something good, which is usually score a goal, which is out of character, and suddenly they're the best player in the world. You know, look at the turnaround for Tomasako. Everybody wanted him sold.
Yes.
Everybody wanted him sold. He was being called from useless. And then suddenly, we're playing, he's indispensable. We've lost him.
He's a right back who plays left back for us.
Yeah, and it's terrible now because he's not available. I don't know. We've got to. You can't just make a mistake or have a bad game and suddenly become the butt of everybody's attacks. I mean, last year we were screaming at how good it was that we'd bought Zinchenko and Jesus. They'd taken us to another level. That was it, wasn't it? They brought a winning culture to us. The skill had taken us to a new level. Suddenly, there are weak spots in the team. Everybody wants a new
striker,
number 9, and another left back. You know, what the fuck's going on? You know, these people are up and down like a fiddler's elbow.
Yeah. George, before I'm not gonna let you get off so easy. Before we wind up, the other guy who's been getting it in the neck is Gabriel Martinelli. I mean, he was expected goals was quite pathetic, 0.14. But the thing about it is that he didn't have any shots on target. Dribbles, his dribble attempts, only 2 of them were successful of the 6. And his passes wasn't bad. And there's a second stat that show he was dispossessed by the fellow Konate, especially had him tormented him. What do you thought? I mean, you and I, have always said that of the 2 white players, there's something in his game that is missing in his game.
Well, there is. He gets the ball and he beats the player, and he's basically playing like Alexis Sanchez.
George, come on! Alexis could at least score.
When Sanchez was at his worst, not at his best. When he was at his worst, when we wanted rid of him, and then he went to United and stank the place up. That's the Sanchez he's playing like now. He holds onto the ball. You watch him. He's literally got his head down. Doesn't run with his head up. He head down, runs to the ball, beats players, and by the time he lifts his head up, has a look around, decides what to do. They've closed him down, so instead now there isn't a pass on, so he sets off on another little bit of a run back to where he's just come from, and his final ball is non-existent. You know, he's not.
That's what the stats shows. His final ball was not.
But it neither shot nor a good ball. It really isn't. But it brings so much energy and fear to the opposition that you can hardly do without him. But he is not a world-class player by a long, long way. I mean, he has to keep his head up. He has to release the ball. Sometimes he does some really fabulous things.
Yes.
Gets in really good positions and just doesn't play the ball. Just doesn't release it. Everybody, and then by the time he releases it, the defense is set and he releases it too late and it all fizzles out and comes to nothing. And he's going to have to improve that. But it's hard to criticise him because he's so exciting when he's on the ball. But I used to say the same thing about Alexis Sanchez. Sometimes I thought rather than pass it to anybody, he would dribble it out and run down the tunnel with it. He can do anything.
The only person he passed to was Ozil. Did you hear that, George?
Yeah. And he'd occasionally lend it to Aaron Ramsey.
Yes.
but
George.
Other than those two, you weren't getting the ball off him. And it's a bit like that with Martinelli now. I'm so loath to be critical of him because despite his weaknesses, he brings strength as well. He is full of energy. He is full of running. He is full of fight and bottle. And it's so hard, The problem is that we've only got two boxes. He's either shit or he's world class.
There's no in between.
That's the only two boxes you're allowed to use. You can't have him a good player that contributes, but he's got weaknesses. No, that's not good enough. Is he shit or is he world class? And a lot of them will now tell you he's shit, more and more so every week. But there's still a lot clinging on to the fact that he's world class. And he's neither. I think he's a good player with the potential to become a great player.
Why doesn't Trossard start ahead of him, George, just for the final point?
Well, I think it's energy that Martinelli brings and speed, pace and energy.
Yes, Trossard isn't as quick.
No, he isn't as quick and he isn't as energetic. And the team is set up for two pacey, energetic wingers.
Inverted wingers.
Wide forwards. And
specifically inverted wingers, George. They want inverted wingers to come inside.
That's right. Yeah. And Trossard isn't that, but he's a very good player. But Mikel has his idea of how he wants to set the team up, how the team wants to play. And Martinelli more fills the bill than Trossard. And Trossard sometimes comes on and is completely ineffective as well. So it's not that he comes on and lights the room up every time. But he's a very good player. I mean, I would like to see him get more game time than he does. But I'm not going to be criticising Arteta for picking Martinelli to start over him.
George, if we don't win the title, if we come third or, God forbid, not in the top two, they're going to have to find a scapegoat. And it's going to be either, it's a little bit early. That's my fear. You know how our fans are, George. You and I have been at this for quite a bit.
Well, we'll have to start doing a feature then. The scapegoat stakes. Runners and riders and the scapegoat stakes.
Yes. They won't get hero status unless we win the title.
It won't be Arteta, that's for sure.
No, well,
he won't get the blame. And probably neither should he. And I don't think anybody should get the blame because at the end of the day, Manchester City are an incredible football team. They've just won the treble and the World Club Championship and a counter, by the way. They're the best team in the world, and we're competing with the best team in the world.
Yeah, they're just dropping points, and
if they finish above us, I think we should have a little bit of sympathy for our lads that have. I mean, I suppose it's like if you lost to the Invincibles.
Yeah,
there could have been a good team playing against them, and they didn't win because they just happened to come across an outstanding super team at the time, and that's what City have been for the last few years, and probably still are. when they click. So I think if we come first, second. If we come second, I still think it's a great achievement for this team.
If we come third, it's a great achievement. Liverpool are in chopped liver.
Yes.
Anyway, George, we have battered on a bit more than usual. So let's save some of our thoughts on the next time we get together. It really was a pleasure getting back with you, George. I hope our fans appreciate this. Some have reached out to us thinking that we've given up. Guys, remember to like and subscribe. You're not doing us any favors if you don't give the likes and the subs and get more subscription. George, give a shout out to your own podcast, please.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Same from me to you and your family. And remember,
thank you.
We'll try our best to do this, but we might have to be out for the next game. But we will try to do the West Ham game. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot, George. All the best for Christmas to you and your family.
All right. Thank you. See you next week.
Bye. But with Kai Havertz playing a little bit better, we seem to have a little bit more variety. But I'm not satisfied that it is good enough. We're not a team that's gonna blow the doors off most teams in the league. You share that opinion or not?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I think that's fair enough. We're not going to blow the teams away because and I think it's a conscious decision to be more solid and less fluid. So I'm not going to criticize it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, I'm just somebody's trying to get in the front door here.
Yes, I can see. Everybody can see.
I'm just texting them, telling them I'm busy.